Hello, and welcome to this video on Dāna, giving. Today we will be talking about Dāna karana, the reasons behind an action, and we will introduce the mindsets behind donations. Because of the distracted, scattered, restless nature of the world, we can naturally start to understand the value of finding ways to incorporate, integrate, and follow our meditation and spiritual practices in our daily lives. So whether we work at home, at an office, if we go to school, if we're traveling, live in a monastery, as we go through every day, we are with an unwholesome or wholesome mind doing actions from the time we emerge out from our sleep. And for women and men, and for lay people and the ordained, the Buddha has prescribed the frequent reflection on kammas, our karma, our result-giving actions. This is mentioned in the Abhiṇhapaccavekkhitabbaṭhānasutta and the Sutta. Because we immediately reduce our defilements through this practice, it develops our qualities more and more, and it naturally brings a wisdom that clears obstructions and helps refine our actions. And today, we will start to see these actions as we learn about the act of giving or donation, Dāna in Pali. So we can develop a deeper understanding of past wholesome actions, a deeper understanding of present wholesome actions, and refine those dāna and all wholesome actions we do in the future as we develop the reflection on kamma, karma. And because it is essential to start noticing your actions in order to start deeply refining them, we will discuss about the importance of the items we offer and who we give them to after we firstly discuss the mindset that occurs before, during, and after a donation. And for today's talk, we will explore three main points. First, we will introduce the mental, verbal, and physical actions that surround a donation. And then secondly, we will show the various reasons and motives that can occur for a donation, the Dāna karana. And we will also start to compare them to start seeing the omaka and ukata nature in them. And then finally, we will explore what is donating for the right reason and how to start donating for the right reasons. Now, by the end of this talk, you should be able to notice various motives, various reasons, various intentions for donation in your daily life and compare them and start noticing and developing the quality of righteous, wholesome action. In order to start the talk and pay homage to the Buddha, I will recite Namo Tassa 3 times, and I will recite one Pali stanza in the context of today's talk. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Mānussikā ca sampatti devaloke ca yarati. Ya ca nibbāna sampatti sambhametena lambhati. Because of practicing dāna, giving, sīla, morality, virtue, saṅyama, restraint, dhamma, self-mastery, human success, divine happiness, and the attainment of enlightenment, liberation, release, nibbāna, all are to be gained by gathering and storing the Kusaladhamma, good karma of dāna, giving, sīla, virtue, restraint, saṅyama, and dhamma, self-mastery. And for giving dāna, we can start to go deeper as we notice that while physical donations can be made by body, like when we give something by hand, and by speech, like when we order someone to give something, and by imagining wholeheartedly giving something in our mind, and by making offerings to the shrines of virtuous people who have passed away, there are still many physical and verbal and mental actions that surround the very giving itself. And we may notice this as in many cultures, where when a guest comes to the house, they are greeted and spoken to with kind, inviting words. And when it's time to eat, they are fed on a well-set table with the best food and drink available in the house. So around a donation, various kind, inviting gestures and even thoughts can occur. These are wholesome kamma. The wholesome bodily actions around a donation are called Dāna, Maya, Kaya Kamma. And the wholesome verbal actions around a donation are called Dāna, Maya, Vaci Kamma. And now, because all bodily and verbal actions are ultimately mental actions, we can also notice that there are non-bodily, non-verbal, mental actions, thoughts, intentions, motives that surround and underlie the donation. As when a boy at the zoo is yelling and throwing food at monkeys, although he is trying to give food to the monkeys, he may be really doing this to get attention and see tricks from the monkeys. Here, there is a giving of food while holding a hope to get entertainment from the receiver. And the gift of food is not being made in a very kind way. It is being thrown, and while yelling rudely at the receiver. We can notice this and go even deeper as we see a boss of a shopping center or restaurant ordering his employees to give out free, specially arranged, specially prepared samples to whoever passes by the food shop. And after a giving of kind, inviting words to have a free bite from a nicely arranged tray, there is a giving of a individually prepared sample of food from a clean hand. And we can easily notice here how, compared to the donation that was done at the zoo, this sample is given very suitably and respectfully. This is called Sakkacca Dāna in Pali. Yet, behind that donation, we can see the motivation is to gather attention and customers. And this intention, and the intention shown in the zoo and with the restaurant, would actually seem quite impure to most of us. This is known in Pali as omaka, inferior dāna. When the donation is done with an inferior motive or reason, it is known as omaka, and it actually is very important to understand it because it can also show what kind of results this kind of wholesome action, good karma, can produce in the future. Now, when the food shop boss ordered to have free samples given out in order to get more customers, this was an unwholesome greed for gain, maybe money, that was driving the donation. And there can be an unwholesome attachment for a person to a person that can drive a donation as well. As, say, when someone really likes a certain actor, musician, or friend, and then they can give donations out of attachment to that person. Because one of our friends is really funny, we may share food with them, and while we can notice sharing itself is wholesome, and there is intention to give support or help with food to the friend, there's a kind of liking to that person, affection, that is really driving that donation. This is called Chanda, dānaṃ, deti in Pali. And we can naturally start to notice that in all kinds of situations, including those that we've mentioned before, like inviting the guests to the house, offering foods to the monkeys at the zoo, giving to a friend, a politician giving out foods, a boss of a restaurant giving out free samples, and so on. We can express generosity. We can express compassion. We have the freedom and the chance to do that. It's up to us to develop that more refined, pure intention of helping and respecting the receiver in those situations. So even if there is a possible payout, a situation, a scenario, we can notice while others may have greed, others may have attachment, we can be without greed, we can be without attachment, and we can give with a very refined, very generous, and very compassionate mind. And so there are scenarios and situations where some would have aversion, some would have stress anger, fear. And we can see donations being made in some countries where there is an ancient tradition of giving to guests. And people give very good hospitality for guests, people that are coming, even when they don't know them. In some countries even it is said, the guest is God. People say this phrase regularly. And we can imagine if a guest came to such a house with this kind of culture, and if someone in the house didn't want to help his family take care of this guest, and when he gets put on the spot to take care of the guest, to make some offering to him, he may get angry. And just to get it over with, he makes the offering. He offers some food and prepares something for the guest. Well, this would be giving out of aversion, out of anger. Yes, there is surely a moment where his intention is to help this person, to offer some kind of support. However, it is a donation being made out of anger, out of aversion. And just as we can notice how rough or unsuitable this kind of mind is for us, we can again imagine if someone in the house wasn't interested, but then out of fear of losing face, or that others might gossip about him and her, or if someone might tell them off, if they were to prepare drinks and offer them to the guest, well, this would be giving out of fear. Just as you might imagine a woman at a supermarket, when she's at checkout, paying at checkout, and the cashier asks her as she's paying, would you like to donate $5 for the hunger relief fund? And because her friends are with her, she decides to offer the money. Now, we can understand that she may be afraid of being criticized or losing her reputation, and so she gives out of fear. Now, we may notice as well that actually if a lover or friend were to give us a gift because they didn't want to be criticized or lose that kind of prestige in the relationship, then if they were to give just because of that, some of us might not even want to accept that kind of gift. And now, we can consider when someone saves their best friend's or lover's life. We can easily notice the greatness or impressiveness of that kind of action. And now we can notice how naturally noble it would be if the intention of helping someone in that situation was so strong that they would be able to go in harm's way to save even a stranger or even an enemy. If they were able to lay down the past, whatever difficulties they had, whatever they didn't like about that person, and be able to, out of such strong intention of helping, to go in dangerous way to save such a person, that would be a very kind of noble mind, something very far away from these omaka examples that we have gone through. It is something very, it comes from something much more high. This mind is what we call ukata. Now, compared to those giving out of anger, we can easily notice how those warm, inviting family members that were taking care of their guests, when some of those family members were taking care of the guests only because it was their family tradition, but not angry or afraid of criticism, but actually doing it because they want to uphold this family tradition. This can actually be a pure intention. This can also have the nature of ukata. And because of hearing a wise teacher like the Buddha praise giving to guests, travelers, sick, giving in times of famine, giving the first crops, first harvest to the spiritually higher people, as he has praised in the Chaḻaṅgadānasutta, we can also understand many people actually make donations to guests and so on because of these kinds of admonishments. Many people practice giving because it has been praised in many Dhamma sermons. And so out of confidence in the teacher's words, of a wise teacher's words, people also make donations. this would actually also hold this quality of ukkata. It would be an ukkata dāna, a higher dāna, with a pure intention. And actually, we will start to feel a special joy as we start to develop this ukkata quality, as we wholeheartedly give again and again. We can start to feel a building pleasure with wholehearted giving and providing service and help to people. We can even start to use this donation. We can start to practice donation, enjoying the purity, the calmness of mind, and the happiness in the mind that it brings naturally. And even as a way to support meditation practice, it is also practice. Giving is also practice. This is mentioned as citta alankara, citta parikkara, as a kind of decoration and requisite, something to support the mind. Dāna is also practiced. And so far, up until now, there have been two main intentions in each example that could drive the donation. The first is anugaha vasena, anugaha in Pali. To offer some help and support, we would be giving someone something. So when we see the case of a donation being made to a poor homeless man, it's very obvious. This quality is very obvious. And also when we offer medicines to our friends, this anugaha vasena, anugaha intention, is likely behind it. And the second drive or motive behind a donation is puja vasena, puja, to worship. When we pay respect to those with higher spiritual qualities, and with intention to make merits oftentimes, this is puja vasena. We are worshipping someone of higher spiritual qualities. And this quality of the receiver will grow more and more clear in future talks. And because of respect for their higher spiritual qualities, we give gifts, donations, and try to honor the receiver, we can notice this quality of puja. And any dāna, whether inferior or ukkata, will always have at least one of these two motives behind it. These intentions, these motives behind a donation arise in the mind as we approach a donation. And as the Buddha has explained in the Chaḻaṅgadānasutta, the quality of the mind, the quality of the intention of giving before, during, and after a donation to anyone in any situation is essential for the donation to be of maximum benefit. And we will talk about how the qualities of the receivers can also have a huge effect on the donation as well in future talks. As we develop this quality of donation, this quality of generosity and happiness in helping others, what will happen is we will start to notice opportunities and look for opportunities to help others and to practice dāna and these good qualities. And we will joyfully, energetically look forward to them. Then our mind approaching the donation will be of very great quality. And this will naturally develop in us more and more. And then at the time of giving, we will become more and more skillful in giving freely and happily to the receiver. And unlike pleasures of the senses, such as listening to music, eating certain delicious foods, and playing games and so on, these pleasures would only be able to give pleasure once. They would only lead to craving later. We usually don't find that when we remember our pleasures and the things that we want to have, that we feel satisfied. However, when we do these great qualities, when we practice these great qualities again and again, when we do a donation, actually, we can remember it very happily, with a kind of content. And while we even still have the desire to develop ourselves and improve ourselves, we still are able to feel a peace of mind and happiness, staying with that. And that happy recalling of that good action, of those good actions, our past donations, is a way to develop our qualities in itself. As we start to practice dāna more and more, as we start to give more and more, we will naturally grow rippling benefits for others and for ourselves. Others will start to notice, be affected, and even be inspired by these actions. and the qualities they are a sign of, and they will be able to grow spiritually and benefit. And what will happen is, as we start to give these donations and develop generosity more and more, we ourselves will learn and develop and refine this quality of giving, learning how to give in more and more ways as we look for ways and notice ways to give and help others and respect others. And this quality, this wholehearted giving, what will happen is we will be able to remember our gifts more and more happily. Many people enjoy pleasures by their senses. They try to listen to music, they go to parties, enjoy all kinds of pleasures through their senses. And what happens is, when they remember these pleasures, they are only hungry. They only become more hungry for these pleasures. They don't get a lasting sense of satisfaction. However, as we develop dāna, as we develop giving and generosity and spiritual qualities such as virtue and meditation, our mind naturally becomes more and more peaceful. We can remember these again and again happily. This is also aparacetna of the donation. And as we start to become as we start to incline more and more towards the donation and developing these spiritual qualities, we will develop a refinement of character. This refinement of character that develops the inclination towards dāna, this is known as dāna jahasaya. Dāna jahasaya is the inclination towards giving. And as we start to develop this, as we wholeheartedly give more and more, we also start to find a certain delight, a certain happiness in giving. This happiness in giving allows us to make very strong merits as we donate, because our mind is joyful and energetic about the wholesome action of donation. And we will start to notice opportunities for donation more and more. When others are in need of things, when we start to get very nice, agreeable items, very helpful items, valuable items, we will see the opportunity to give something to someone that they will really like, that they may really benefit from. And we will see the opportunity to develop our own generosity. And then, what will happen is, as we start to notice these opportunities, we will be very energetic and joyful before a donation, approaching a donation. This is our developing the Pabbajitaabhiṇhasutta to become very joyful and happy about the donation. And we can also start to develop that freely giving, that free generosity that allows us to give freely and happily during the donation. And as we remember the donation happily, without regret, staying very, very happy and peaceful in our mind about our donations and actions, we will become very, very polished and developed in the 3 times around our donation: before, during, and after. And this the Buddha has explained in the Chaḻaṅgadānasutta as our way of making the donation very powerful. When the donation is very powerful, because of our great wholesome intention, wholesome mind before, during, and after, we are able to make as much merits as possible in terms of our mind around the donation. So it is by this developing this store of merits again and again, refining it and growing it, we develop the ability to gain human success, Mānussikā sampatti, divine pleasures, devaloke ca yarati, and we are able to attain, according to our wish, nibbana, enlightenment, liberation, release. Yaca nibbana sampatti, all are obtainable by this store of merits. Sabba me tena labhati. And this store of merits will become more and more powerful as we develop this dāna bhirati, this delight in giving, and this dāna jahasaya, this inclination towards giving. And what will happen is, as we develop these actions and these qualities, even we will start to be able to give very wholeheartedly and with full interest in situations where others may be giving with an omaka mind, like with anger or with attachment or greed. So we will be able to develop ourselves and be able to go in any situation now with a new mind, a refined character that can see the world differently and see opportunities for making greater dānaṃ kaya kamma around the donation and dānaṃ vaci kamma, verbal actions around the donation. We want to develop this great store of merits so that we can make the most benefit for others and for ourselves, for human success, for good rebirth, and for the attainment of nibbana. These spiritual practices are really essential for us to attain these things in a more true and beneficial way. Now, the Dāna is one of 10 dasa punya kriya, 10 bases for making merits. By listening to the Dhamma, we are also practicing the wholesome action of Dhamma savana. By giving Dhamma sermons like this, I'm also practicing Dhamma desana, a type of dana as well. We want to practice these wholesome actions, dasa punya kriya, the 10 bases for wholesome action, for making merit. Dāna is the first of them. We want to practice all of these spiritual qualities. We want to practice these spiritual qualities so that we can develop our merits and benefit for others and for ourselves as much as possible, so that we can achieve spiritual growth and safety. So, with all the merits that we have made, and by listening to the Dhamma, by teaching the Dhamma, and by any donations we have made, or through any of the dasa punya kriya and spiritual practices, may we make the aspiration for enlightenment, the aspiration for liberation, nibbana in Pali, as follows. Idam me punyam asavakkaya vaham hotu. Idam me punyam asavakkaya vaham hotu. Idam me punyam asavakkaya vaham hotu. Samba dukkha pamunchatu. And for any beings that wish for us to share our merits with them, so that they can rejoice and be happy with our good actions, our good activities, such as any people, any devas, any beings. May we share all merits we have done now and also in the past with them, so that they may also achieve their greatest benefit, and so that we can develop the wholesome action of sharing merits as well. Mama punya bhagam sabba sattanam bhajemi te sambe me samam punya bhagam labhantu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.